I don't think it's a stretch to call Rockstar Games one of the most important and influential developers of all time. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 things about Rockstar Games you probably didn't know. Number 10, Rockstar paid for negative press. The creators of the original Grand Theft Auto game had a PR guy who understood perhaps a little bit too well how the press works. This gentleman's name was Max Clifford. Now, David Jones and Mike Daly, those Grand Theft Auto developers I mentioned, had this to say. He designed all of the outcry, which pretty much guaranteed MPs, or members of parliament for all of those who don't live in Great Britain, to get involved. He would do anything to keep the profile high, which is a really interesting thing to hear. Apparently, he had a very specific plan, which included planting stories that were outraged by Grand Theft Auto in very specific papers in order to get politicians involved and create a general outcry. GTA developer David Jones added this. He told us how he'd play it, who he'd target, what those people would say, and every word he said came true. We all know how it turned out, too. It was literally years where people and politicians constantly tried to throw Grand Theft Auto under the bus. But what's funny is that it was by design. And let's just be honest, that's basically how everything works now, right? Number 9, Rockstar Games intentionally tries to avoid genres like first-person shooters. Part of their philosophical approach to games is that genres that aren't as original as they used to be don't hurt to avoid. Now, keeping in mind that there's a first-person mode in Grand Theft Auto now that you can play the game like a first-person shooter, and they've also made games like Max Payne 3, which is, there's a lot in common with a first-person shooter, but there's also a lot different. And that's basically the point, the thing that they're trying to get at. Not so much that first-person shooters are bad, because they certainly aren't. The new Doom series and the new Wolfenstein series show us that even the oldest names in the book can turn out something that's just amazing. But if you think about it, Rockstar kind of made up a genre in Grand Theft Auto and then also in Red Dead Redemption. These games are pretty unique if you compare them to where they came from. And the fact they have a bit of an aversion towards ground that has already been treaded is pretty obvious in their approach. Number 8, Grand Theft Auto 4 was going to be a PS3 exclusive. That is, until Microsoft made a deal with Take-Two Interactive. A deal to the tune of around $75 million. That is a lot of money just to release a game also on your console. Part of the deal was also timed exclusivity for the DLCs, The Lost and the Damned, which came out in 2009 on Xbox 360 and 2010 on PS3. The same goes for The Ballad of Gay Tony, which came later in the year, in both years on the respective platforms. This has never really been confirmed, but it was reported by a trusted analyst by the name of Michael Patcher. Number 7, Rockstar Games is actually 10 studios across 9 cities, and originally existed in Scotland. In fact, in Vice City, there's a billboard saying, "Come to Dundee." Now, Dundee is a city in Scotland, and very out of place for a tourist billboard in Vice City, which is based on Miami, in the 1980s. There was also a bit of a crime spree in which ice cream trucks were dealing drugs. That was primarily a UK thing as well, and yet there it was in 1980s Miami. Anyway, a lot of people think of Rockstar Games as a single studio. It's just not, though, and a lot of it is not in places you would think it would be. Number 6, the whole hot coffee mod grew out of the Grand Theft Auto developers wanting to push the envelope with things other than violence to make the point, hey, it seems like society is okay with violence, but why is it not okay with sex? Where the publishers were like, we can't get an adults-only rating. A lot of stuff ended up getting cut from the game, but little pieces of animation still existed within the source files, and a modder by the name of Patrick Wildenborg ended up visualizing it. Now, Sam Houser, the guy who, is still the president of Rockstar Games, really wanted to get that stuff into the game, but couldn't. It would have basically limited their market by a lot. Most retailers won't carry adults-only games. That is basically something that made people at the mercy of retailers. If you want to read more about this, there's a really long piece in Eurogamer from 2012 that is really actually kind of amazing work, and I'd recommend reading it. Number 5, in order to get the rights to a song called Walk the Night, Rockstar Games had to hire a private investigator to find the remaining relatives of one of the members of a band called the Scat Brothers, all of which were deceased, and nobody had any idea how to contact who owned the estate. Now, there's not much to say about it beyond that. It's just superb dedication on the part of Rockstar Games to get a really unique track into the game. Number 4, in 2007, Rockstar set up a phone number that fans could call into and leave a voicemail ranting about what they think is wrong with America. Now, the fun part about this is that for a long time, I thought those were just written. They're that good. Like, some of those calls are perhaps some of the funniest parts of the game. Now, it's not certain that they were actually saying what they thought was wrong with America. Obviously, there was a performance element that I think even the average person had to have understood calling in, and it created some of the best moments in the game. Number 3, Rockstar Games made a webpage. For the game console, they made up for Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which we all fondly remember as the Degenitron. The website is still there today and still has playable versions of the games that are talked about in Vice City. They're not like particularly amazing games, but I think that's an impressive level of dedication. Number 2, Rockstar got involved in a lot of lawsuits over the years due to their Grand Theft Auto games. For instance, a strip club sued them for having a similar looking strip club in San Andreas. They lost. The real strip club was called the Playpen, and the strip club in the game was called the Pigpen, which is kind of satire, and you can't sue people over that, so, They've also been sued by former employees for royalties. The rap group Cypress Hill sued them over people of their likenesses being in San Andreas for $250 million. Lindsay Lohan did the same thing and also lost because, yeah, of course. And finally, at number 1, there's an alternate reality somewhere where EA would have actually owned Rockstar Games. Reportedly, at one point in 2008, EA bid $2 billion to buy Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar's publisher Take-Two Interactive. Now, more than a few people were quite concerned about this because if EA bought Rockstar Games, EA could close Rockstar Games and make Grand Theft Auto titles on their own with one of their awful studios that I don't even know. They also have control over like several good studios and could have probably ruined it through microtransactions and all that too. Not that there's no microtransactions in Grand Theft Auto Online, but they're confined to Grand Theft Auto Online. Take-Two was like, no, we're not doing that. Business deals don't always work like this, but it's just speculation, so who knows? A quick bonus point for you, they made a weird movie about Sam Hauser in a legal struggle with Jack Thompson, and Rockstar Games didn't like it. They were like, this is an inaccurate film. It portrays everything wrong. If you remember any of this stuff or find some of it interesting to learn, let us know what you're thinking in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you want to see our new uploads every single day, click subscribe, and do not forget to click the alarm bell so you get notifications and don't miss the new videos. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconTheHero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.